Well, YouTube. As you can see, I'm a super trucker now. Got to drive out in some traffic on day 10 of at Suncoast Trucking Academy. But now I just picked this up at Tractor Supply Company. I was tired of getting the sun burning up my freaking neck and ears every day out on the range, and I was gonna buy one of those high vis, like bright green with the reflective stuff, one of those big boonie covers, but then I saw this was even cheaper. It was like 12 bucks or whatever, and I thought it looked pretty dang cool. Just got to get some throw some feathers up here, and maybe actually, some rattlesnake skin would actually probably look pretty cool on this. Get some turquoise jewelry and stuff, be like Richard Petty, But yeah, so day 10 was actually quite a bit different, just because we had a couple things happen. First, we had some people I'd missed on day 10 or day 5. They missed doing the final and hazmat test and stuff back in the classroom. They didn't make that up yet, so they had to go over and do that. So they were gone all day. One guy was sick, so he ended up going home after like the pre-trip inspection, and another guy decided to quit from the manual class, and they were able to fit him into the automatic class, so he went over there. So it was just me and one other guy left. So what we ended up doing was, for part of the day there were some other people, but yeah. So we did the pre-trip inspection, got that knocked out. That's pretty much what we do every morning, first thing in the morning, and go through that. And once everyone's done their section for the day on that, then we moved on to straight line backing. And everyone was working on that. And then when it came to my turn, the instructor actually said that he doesn't want to impede my learning by everyone else being still doing the straight line backing and everything. So he started teaching me the offset backing. So that was pretty cool. He had me do that one time, and we'd stop on every single movement, stop the truck, get out. He'd point out a bunch of different reference points for me to take a look at, things that I needed to be watching as I was doing the offset backing. And for the first one, I was doing an offset to the left. And so anyways, walks me through all that, and then that was it. I was done and went on to the next student. I wrote down, I did like a brain dump, wrote down all the notes and started doing it, driving it in my head to figure it out. And then, like I said, one guy went home sick then, like right after he did some straight line backing. And that was when another guy ended up, he was doing our straight line backing, but then the range manager came over and let him know that his wish had been granted. They could put him in the automatic class, so he got taken out, went over there. And someone else was over at, doing the classroom training, so it was just me and one other guy. And he kept working on straight line backing. Then it was my turn to do the offset again. This time the instructor was there, and just he's like, we're doing the same thing, we're going to the other side now. So now I was moving over to doing an offset to the right. And so he's like, I'm going to be right here, stop me if you need me. And he was also kind of giving me, if I was doing the wrong thing, he'd tell me what to do. And so I got it in doing right, and he's like, all right, pull forward. And I pulled forward, and he's like, okay, now put it in the left spot. And then he walks off over with all the other students. And so I start going back, and he's there telling them, I found out later that he was telling them what I was doing. He was walking them through the steps, because since they were going to be moving, it was just the one guy, and he's ready to start moving on, so he's kind of teaching him that while I was doing it. And so I get all the way back, and I'm about to get into my final movement where I'm just, coming around. Don't do this crap. This focus. I still haven't looked it up. I don't know what to do. So anyways, you know what I look like. Figure it out. You're here for the information. So I was backing up, and it's really, really making me mad. So I was backing up, and I kept getting out. I was allowed to get out and look and everything, so I get out and look just to make sure everything was right. And I was at the right. I needed to keep about 5 feet of space between the rear of the trailer and the double cones for like the inside line. And I was pretty much good there. But as I started coming around, I didn't maintain the right space on since I was going to the left, it was my right rear, the right, trailer, like the tires on the tandem axle. And so I wasn't maintaining the right space, and I started coming back, and I knew that it wasn't going to be right, so I was allowed to do you're allowed to do, it's practice, so you can get out and look as much as you want and do as many pull-ups as you want, because you're there this is, for me to learn. So he had, on the last one, he had intentionally made me back in incorrectly and then showed me the S maneuver when you're pulling out to kind of reset where you're putting your trailer at. And so I pull out, and I'm doing my S maneuvers, and now I just have it even way more jacked up as I'm pulling up. So I try backing it up again, trying to fix it, and I'm just getting all whacked out on here. And I realized what I was doing was I wasn't waiting. It takes 8 to 10 feet for everything to kind of react to your steering, and I was just doing the steering way too fast. It wasn't really doing anything at all. So I was like, all right, so stop, take a look at everything that I'm doing, visualize how I'm going to get out of this, and I do my S maneuvers again, come up, get it set up where I wanted, straight line back in, mostly straight line. Well, it was basically a straight line back at that point, and it was just correcting the trailer, and I got that in there perfectly parallel to the lines that we're using, exactly centered. Man, it was like perfect. I was blown away myself. I thought he was going to come over and stop me, but he let me make all the mistakes that I was making, and let me figure out how to correct them. So that was freaking awesome. It was like a perfect learning experience for me, because I could then see that I was able to, if I got into a jam, I was able to correct it. And I also took the time to think about what I was doing wrong. And so as soon as he came over then with the other student to start teaching him offset backing, I said, oh, I did this, and that jacked me up. And then when I tried to fix it, I did this, and he's like, you got it. And so that was cool. He said, had that been the actual test, I actually would have passed. I was allowed, even with my extra get out and looks that I did, but the you lose points for each of those or whatever. And the pull-ups I was good, but I never crossed over any of the lines or anything like that, because I stopped and checked before I was doing any of that, and then corrected everything. So that's cool. Now really I just have to make sure that I'm able to do that easier and focus on whenever I learn the alley dock. So then other guy learned he learned the offset backing, and then we went to lunch, came back, it was just me and him and the instructor, and took us over to the cow pasture so this other guy could work on his shifting more. He drove for about an hour and a half, and finally stopped kind of making as many mistakes, started getting more comfortable with everything. And anyways, then it was my turn. I go in. At this point, my shifting now was like flawless. Everything's super smooth. I understood everything, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm easing out of the clutch properly, shifting at the right points and everything. So I asked me to do I don't want to call it a panic stop, but a controlled immediate stop, if you will. So as I do that, and he's like, okay, go ahead and continue driving. I had done, it was about half a lap around the cow pasture at this point in time. So we're going, make another right turn. We were doing right turns today. And I'm going, and he's like, continue straight. And I was like, okay, so I'm not making this right turn right here. He's like, I said, continue straight. I'm like, all right. So we go out, and I go out, and again, now I'm out in traffic, but this time I know how to shift well and everything. And I mean, I thought I was shifting well the first time I did it, but, now I know all the additional steps and everything. And so anyways, yes, I go out, end up driving all the way out to Arcadia, which, I don't know, it's maybe 20, 25 miles from where we were at. Basically driving out US 17 out there, and get to this one point. It's like a huge truck pull off, and with for people to do, turn around. And so we switch, now the other guy's driving, and so he drives back to Punta Gorda, and he's driving a little bit around the city, goes over into Port Charlotte, then we stop, then it was my turn. I'm driving around the Deep Creek area, down around in residential areas, and then coming back out to Port Charlotte, and then back into Punta Gorda, and then I drive us back to the classroom. And so I got a good at least an hour and a half of driving in on both a US 17, so that was 60 mile an hour highway, and then as well as around residential areas during Friday afternoon traffic at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. So, boy, all I can say is F car drivers, man. The crazy stuff they were doing, man, I had no clue. It's like insane, man. They're just, whipping all over the place. I had someone pull out to go around me because there's an Amazon Prime van parked right in the middle of this road. There's all sorts of oncoming traffic, and this person, without even being able to see, whips right around the truck, almost gets onto a head-on collision, and it was just wild, man. Just all the different things. Even there were other truckers. There's one guy, he gets in the left. It was we were making a left-hand turn. There were two turning lanes. I was in the outermost one, like you're supposed to be. He comes up, gets on the left, and the instructor is like, see, you even have to watch for other trucks because this guy, there's no way he's going to make that. He's going to come into your lane, so be ready for that. Sure enough, guy comes over into my lane. I was already prepared for it, so let him go do his thing, and then kept going around. But man, it was just really crazy. The craziest thing is I never realized I just don't pay attention to any road signs, because the instructor's like, okay, well, what do those two signs say? And I'm like, oh man, I wasn't even looking, unless if I need to know what the speed limit is, or I'm particularly looking for something in this area. I just don't look for that stuff. So now that I've been driving, that was Friday, today is Sunday when I'm recording this, I've been totally changing the way that I'm driving just in my passenger vehicle to get prepared for the truck. So I'm looking at every single sign since I just don't even pay attention to them. And I do a really good job from being a motorcycle rider of keeping an eye on all the stuff that I need to be worried about. But I know it's like, this is like the same thing as driving a motorcycle, but the opposite. So like, instead of having to watch for things that are going to kill me, I have to watch for things that are going to happen that I'm going to kill them. So the instructor would be like quizzing me, like I knew I needed to watch intersections and stuff like that for anything, and keeping an eye on the people. But he'd be like, we'd go through an intersection and be like, okay, what color was that Jeep? And like, I don't know. I mean, honestly, I just kind of delete that stuff. Once I realize that it's not a threat, I'm not going to remember it. That's just not how my brain operates. I don't keep pointless information up in there. But so I wasn't doing well on that. But he would also be asking, okay, how many people were in that in that car, right? That, you know, that was at the intersection. So I did start paying attention to that kind of stuff, and I'm doing that now as I'm out there driving. Not just like before, I'd be looking at the cars to be ready for them to, you know, pull out or whatever they're going to do, but I wouldn't be. The way that I'm changing now is I'm watching the driver themselves to see if they're paying attention or what the hell's going on. So, you know, that's just something I get used to. So there were, you know, a couple little things, like for some reason a couple times I missed 7th gear, but I was able to recover and you know, go back into 6th. And I think it was just, there's so much going on. I'm just focused on so many other things, and I still have to kind of think a little bit about the shifting at times, you know, rather than just doing it, you know, but, you know, I'm 1 week in on driving a truck. So, you know, and some of the days I barely even got any time because it was going more to the other students. So, you know, it's things that'll come with time and experience. I don't feel like I was overwhelmed at any point in time, but I mean, it was certainly uncomfortable at times. Not, like I said, not overwhelming. It didn't make me nervous or anything. It was just uncomfortable because it's all new there, and there's so much to pay attention to. And I knew, you know, that I was letting things slip through the cracks, like, you know, not looking at signs. And, you know, I'd miss things sometimes, and just because everything is so new. So, you know, it's something, I think I'm doing great. I mean, the feedback that I'm getting is that I'm doing great. I feel like I'm doing great. So it's just need more exposure to it. And as I get that, you know, obviously through this, I think I'm going to be way ahead of most students when I do graduate. And I'm not trying to say that in a manner that isn't humble or bragging or anything. That's my feeling on it. But I know that I still have years and years and years of learning. Like, I'm constantly going to be learning new things while I'm driving the truck. And, you know, specifically the first like 3 to 6 months, there's going to be, because, you know, it's not just driving it now. Then after I graduate the school, then I'm going to have to start learning all sorts of stuff like coupling, uncoupling, you know, sliding tandems, all sorts of stuff. So there's a lot of learnings to still continue on after school. But I feel like I'll be pretty well prepared by the end of this. So I'll have enough exposure that I'll feel safe to be on the road when I go to my first company. So anyways, that was all that we did that day, and yeah, record another video which will be the week 2 wrap up or review, and then I'm also gonna put out some videos about the different companies that I interacted with. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.